Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1Mby1M Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1Mby1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do these free mentoring roundtables every week. It's been going on for more than a decade, since 2008. And this is our 428th session of this program. We do all kinds of other things. We have our own podcast. We have the blog, which many of you follow. We have an enormous amount of presence on LinkedIn. In fact, there's an article that is trending on LinkedIn right now called Bootstrapping to Exit. If you haven't read it, you should. And many of you are probably here because of that article. And so on. So big platform at this point, over 500,000 people from various parts of the world. The event is being recorded. You will find recordings of this after the show, as well as all our prior sessions on the 1M1M Roundtable's YouTube channel. It's a terrific channel to follow if you're learning entrepreneurship at this point, which is one of our key goals, is to give you ways of learning how to be a successful entrepreneur. If you're live tweeting the show today, please use hashtag 1M1M. And our Twitter handles are 1M1M and @Romana. And these are all channels through which we publish enormous amount of great inspirational, educational, informative content. We do have a call-in session after the scheduled presentations. We have 4 segments first, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A and public discussion. In the meantime, you could turn your public chat to the chat should send to all participants. So if you go down to the chat and make sure that your chat is going out to all participants, you can pretty much throughout the session, the next 90 minutes, converse with the community here, with everybody, ask questions, weigh in, give your thoughts, etc. That's all perfectly fine, and then I will open up the line for phone Q&A. We're going to start today first with Ondrej Bartos from Credo Ventures. Ondrej, welcome to the show. I've heard about your firm from your friends from the Czech Republic, or Czechia now, and you may have seen the stories we've done on some of your local colleagues. So I'm really looking forward to getting acquainted with you.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Your line is breaking off, so we need to clean that up. How do we do that?
No idea.
That is much better.
Get better.
That is much better. That is already much better. Fantastic. All right. Well, I would like to start by having you introduce yourself and Credo Ventures to our audience here, and then we'll discuss what you're up to out there and what are the trends in your space and so on.
Cool, great. So again, thanks for having me. As mentioned, I'm a GP at Credo Ventures, which is a VC firm based out of Prague, Czech Republic. Doing seed and Series A investing in Central Europe. Compared to 1Mby1M, we're a young firm because we only started a year after you did. So we started Credo in 2009 with the aim to actually create a Central European VC firm with Silicon Valley DNA and aspirations and ambitions. So our aim since the very beginning has been to invest into startups with global ambitions who aim to compete in the global markets and who aim to address big problems with innovative and smart solutions. We currently are just about to close our Fund 3, which will be around $100 million. Our previous two funds, so we started with a small sort of pilot fund to test the hypotheses that venture capital of the Silicon Valley type can work in a region as remote and exotic as Central Europe. So we started with a $20 million fund, and then our second fund was about $60 million. We've made 42 investments up until now, and now we aim to double down on our investment thesis, which is built basically around the region that we're in. Sort of
so let's actually double-click down on some of the things that you said and just get some color on how do you define seeds, how do you define Series A? Well, yes, I guess we should define Series A for Central Europe as well. What are you looking for in seed in terms of validation?
Right. So when we talk about, we basically talk about investments up to 1 million euros or say $1.2 million. And what we look at mostly at the seed stage is the team and the founder and the size of the opportunity. So we don't necessarily look at revenue. We don't look at any other market validation. It can be pre-launch. It can be pre-revenue, but we're really interested to see a big opportunity in terms of big target market, and we very much look at the team and the founders. We consider ourselves to be very founder friendly and founder centric. So founders and teams are very important to us.
The 42 investments that you've made, how many of those are concept stage investments and how many already had prototype and some market validation?
I'd say about a third would fall into a bracket of, conceptual or pre-revenue stage. Okay. Then another third would be the ones that already had product out in the market, but just with initial revenue and not quite product market fit, and the last third would be for Series A investments or large seeds where we saw already some traction. So what is the geographical boundary of, when you say Central European investments, how far do you go? What are the 4 regions? Obviously, you have Prague and surroundings, but what else? Yeah, I mean, so when we talk about Central Europe, it's basically the region between Germany and sort of Ukraine, those two excluded. So it's countries like the Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia, Slovenia. This is the space that we operate in. And the 42 that you've done so far, what is the bulk? Is it 50% Prague, 70% Prague? What's the distribution? No, I'd say we consider the Czech Republic and Slovakia, which actually used to be one country not that long ago, we consider our home market. And I'd say about 40% of our investments have been originated in those two countries, and the rest is the rest of the region.
And are there any other hotspots in those other places besides Czech Republic and Slovakia?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a number of investments in Poland, which is the largest market in our region, and also Poland has been pretty active and vibrant as a market. We are big fans of Romania, as you might or might not know. Our currently most successful startup is a Romanian company called UiPath, which happens to be the first unicorn born out of Romania, and we've done 2 more investments in Romania, and in general, that's a place where we see a lot of action, a lot of activity, a lot of hunger. What is important to say, as I mentioned, we only look at startups with global ambitions. We are not excited about copycats or, too niche plays. So we only invest into the ones that can make it big eventually. And
just to give some context for the audience, there have been a couple of very successful consumer antivirus companies out of Prague, AVG and Avast, and which eventually merged, and today is a larger company. That's probably the first major success story out of that region. And then we'll double click down into UiPath but I want to ask you one question before we do that. What do you like to invest in? Is it B2B, B2C, everything, or is it just B2B? What's your preference?
So we are not specialized. So being in a region like Central Europe, we unfortunately, depends on how you look, we don't have the luxury of our peers in the Bay Area or in Silicon Valley to be able to specialize. How we position ourselves is we look at anything in technology, either producing technology products or using technologies in a significant way. And so we can do either B2B or B2C. If you asked me 3 years back whether we would do anything in hardware, I would have probably told you no. But ta-da, we've made 2 hardware investments as well. So what we really care for is the big ambition, is some kind of a competitive edge, some good reason why the company could or should succeed. I can tell you that most of our investments are B2B, and our most typical investee or portfolio company is enterprise software, but it's not because we prefer those kind of companies, but it's just because it's a lot more probable or likely that an enterprise software company succeeds coming out of Central Europe than, say, consumer company.
Right.
I don't think a Facebook could have been born in Hungary. That's just too
unlikely. Well, not
unlikely.
in 2004, but we will see. Skype was born in Estonia.
Yeah, Skype was born in Estonia. I still believe that the founders of Skype had previous exposure and access to the Silicon Valley, and without that,
but today that is very easily available, right? You can, if you can get a concept validated and get to some extent, moving to some extent, you can sort of do the very early stage in Central Europe, and you can always raise more money and set up a second headquarters here in Silicon Valley and get that access. I mean, the bridge between India and Silicon Valley has become really powerful, and there are a lot of companies who are operating in this mode, and I just don't see any reason why Europe cannot do that, replicate that. It's not as solid. The European connection to Silicon Valley is not as solid as the Indian connection, but it should be. In due course, it should be. So let's talk about UiPath. Yeah? You were saying something.
Sure.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to agree with what you said. And truth is that, globalization is progressing, and it is my deep belief that, in any part of the world, any kind of startup can be born. It's just that in some places it's more likely to be a successful enterprise software company, and in some other places it's more likely to build a successful consumer play. That's all. But I totally agree that it's possible. Yeah, let's talk about UiPath.
Tell us when you saw this company, at what stage, what did they have, what caught your attention, and what did it go on to become?
Yeah, it's I like talking about that story, so let's talk about that. So I first met the founder of UiPath, I believe, in January 2015, and at that point, UiPath was really just 10 people in a dodgy Bucharest apartment who had interesting technology, which they were selling at that point as an SDK or as an installed software with a perpetual license, but it was very well designed, and it worked really well, and so that was one part of the story. The other one was that the two founders seemed to be one of the most passionate and nice people that I've met. So, the combination of those two things, plus, looking at the market, we thought that it was really great timing for an automation software of that kind. So,
can you talk a bit about what they do so that people can have the context?
Sorry, exactly. They do what's called robotic process automation. So they use software to automate repetitive, mundane tasks in organizations, mostly large ones. So think of it as software robots that can perform tasks that are very usually still performed by people, but shouldn't be because they're repetitive, rule-based, and software can do them much better, actually, and efficiently than people. That's how it started.
So when you met them, were they already doing that for some enterprises?
They were not doing it on the scale they're doing it now, but yes, they've already had some customers, but they had a couple of $100,000 in revenue, and as I said, it was not recurring revenue. It was perpetual licenses and some revenue from SDK sales. So they only so we invested in the summer of 2015 in a seed round, in a $1.6 million seed round, together with Early Bird and SeedCam. Early Bird is another Central and Eastern European VC.
Here.
And SeedCamp is probably the one of the top seed funds in Europe, and only in the fall of 2015 they actually turned the business into SaaS, into subscription. So only after the investment they started to generate recurring revenue.
And where are they getting traction in terms of customers? I assume they're going after enterprise customers. Where, what segments, what kind of use cases are they gaining the most traction in?
So this is very different from between then and now, because UiPath now is already a company with over 2,000 employees. So up from 10 when we invested, they're now over 2,000, and they have 9-digit recurring revenues. I believe it's around 180 million in ARR these days. So, but back then we thought that the most logical way to start would be financial services and BPOs, business process optimization. So those were the segments that we went after, and we did get traction. But what happened, and it's not a common thing to happen actually, to be honest. The initial growth of UiPath, the initial growth in 2016 and a good portion of 2017 was really based on inbound. So, it somehow happened that the company timed their go-to-market so well that all of a sudden there was a lot of demand for automation, for software, robotic automation specifically, and so they started growing into segments that we did not think would be the most obvious, like healthcare, public, insurance, stuff like that.
Okay, and in the other 41 deals that you have invested in, what are some of the trends? What kinds of stuff have you started seeing success with?
So this is something which will be somewhat specific to our region. You have to bear in mind that we're in Central Europe or Central and Eastern Europe, which is on one hand known for good, solid technical talent and engineering talent. On the other hand, which suffers from lack of marketing and sales talent and experience. So what we've started seeing as a trend is that the more successful companies in our portfolio, companies that we've invested in, are the ones that are led by people who have had previous exposure and experience with the hard-working culture environments, people who have worked in startups before or who have went through a Google or Facebook experience as employees, people who have, even worked with consultancies, the McKinseys and BCGs of this world. So I would not necessarily call those people diaspora because some of them never left the region per se, but many of the successful founders that we see have had some previous experience with Silicon Valley, with London, with Berlin. And, the founder of UiPath is one example because he spent a couple of years in Redmond working for Microsoft before he went back to Romania and eventually founded UiPath.
And what conclusions are you drawing and what best practices are you replicating across the portfolio vis-a-vis setting up a Silicon Valley presence or a U.S. presence? Like what is UiPath's trajectory and what is the trajectory of your more successful companies to scale?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that UiPath still is a big outlier in the region, and I'd say in Europe actually it's one of the most one of the fastest growing enterprise software companies of all time. So taking UiPath a little bit aside. One of the learnings.
Before you set UiPath aside, though, what has been UiPath's strategy? Have they set up Silicon Valley very early on, or US very early on? What is their geographical location and headquarter, and how is the company run from a scaling perspective?
Right. So, truth is, they started expanding fairly early on. And they started with two territories, so to speak. One is the U.S. It's not the Silicon Valley, but New York. It's the East Coast. And for a company like UiPath, it may make sense because they focus on the big Fortune 500 companies as potential customers. So the East Coast is a good option. That was one of the first ones.
A lot of European companies actually prefer to set up their U.S. headquarters in New York or Boston. Part of it is just the time zone and the accessibility. Silicon Valley is far from Europe. I mean, it's far from India too, and it's far from China. But I think for European companies, I think I have seen this in a lot of European companies that have chosen New York or Boston over Silicon Valley as their U.S. headquarters. So go ahead. 3 hours is 180 minutes. That's that's a lot. So yes, I agree that the East Coast is something to consider. But I always tell my founders that it really, really mostly depends on the type of business they're in. It very much depends on where the target customers are. It depends on where the potential partners are and so forth. So in our portfolio, there's actually more companies that moved further west all the way to the Silicon Valley than to the East Coast. We have a couple of East Coast companies as well, but Silicon Valley still wins. That's the melting pot. That's where many of the potential partners, customers, and potential acquirers sit. So that's how it is. And so you are pushing,
to conclude.
Yeah.
And to conclude, so it was
set up Silicon Valley or equivalent early on, not leave it till later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so, especially if you wanna grow fast, because as we've learned, the U.S. is just a totally different league in terms of the speed of growth that you can achieve there, and there are even companies that we don't consider as successful. And one of the reasons they were not as successful as they could be was that they moved to the U.S. too late, or they actually failed to move to the U.S. And to conclude, and you will like hearing that, right after setting up New York, in the case of UiPath, we set up India. One of the reasons was that, as I said, one of the early verticals we were going after was BPO, and there's a lot of BPO business in India, but also because we felt like it could be a good idea to start another sort of developer engineering center outside of sort of Romania. So at this point, it's still Romania with most of the people working for UiPath. It's I believe it's now more than 500 people in Romania and in Bucharest and Cluj mostly. Then second biggest center of gravity, if you will, is the U.S. with most of the salespeople, Salesforce. And then the third one would be India.
And what trends do you see in the BPO industry with UiPath? Because the case for the Indian BPO industry was cheap labor. So now are you saying that you're bringing in software and replacing the cheap labor?
What I'm saying is that we're bringing software to make the slightly cheaper labor even more productive and efficient, because with RPA, it's not necessarily that we're replacing the people, but we're empowering the people, and we're giving the people a chance to work on a lot more interesting and useful stuff than they used to, because they had to.
But that's not the basis of the Indian BPO industry. The Indian BPO industry is to do exactly what you are doing with technology, is to automate or to outsource all these routine, mundane tasks.
I do agree. Also, I'd say BPO is already not among the top verticals that UiPath is going after, but still, I still believe that it's an interesting proposition for the BPO industry as well. It's just that it's not the most
I don't think we need to belabor this point. I have a lot of thoughts on this because I've long believed that the entire BPO industry is going to disappear because of automation. So I think UiPath is a very good example of a company that is going to enable that transition to happen. It will happen. Sooner or later, it will happen.
I'm a believer of that too.
Okay. So I think we've got a good sense of what's happening in your universe. Is there anything else that you want to add before we conclude this segment?
To conclude, so I come from this region. I love Central and Eastern Europe. I'm a big believer that it had been overseen for a long time. I remember, the early days when we were coming to the Silicon Valley in 2010, 2011, 2012, and everybody was looking at us as, where are you guys coming from? Is it, Chechnya, or is it Russia? It was improbable to seek something interesting in our geography. But But I think this is changing rapidly, and looking at things like HackerRank and other sources, you can see that Central and Eastern European engineers and programmers are now considered to be among the best in the world. And therefore, I am a huge believer in the region, and I believe it can be used both as engineering center for U.S. or Western European startups, as well as, you know, a melting pot for the new generation of startups. And are
you finding good collaborators in Silicon Valley, like funds who are willing to invest in a company that's starting largely in Central Europe?
Yeah, the change is visible also on numbers. It is visible on stats, on number of deals. We have co-invested alongside, you know, Sequoia, Kleiner, Axel, you know, Index, which has European genes per se, but we have invested alongside Flybridge, which is an East Coast-based fund, Baseline, which is a San Francisco-based fund. So, you know, yes, we do see more and more appetite, and more importantly, maybe we see more belief and conviction in the big VCs that it is actually possible to build something really interesting and competitive out of Central and Eastern Europe.
Very good. Well, it's wonderful to hear what you're up to and what your region is up to, how it's growing. We have been covering this for a while, so it's wonderful to see the progression and have you here. So thank you, Ondrej, for participating, and we'll keep in touch. I would actually like to feature UiPath in our Entrepreneur Journey series. So if you introduce them to my team, they will schedule the interview.
Sounds great. Let's do that.
All right, we'll keep in touch.
Thanks, Romana, again for having me, and you know, good luck to the entrepreneurs who will be pitching, and you know, good luck to everybody who's trying.
Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to switch gears to the entrepreneur pitch session next. We have 3 entrepreneur pitches from very different parts of the world. I want to set some expectations for all of you before you get started. We are completely on your side. We have absolutely no other agenda here than helping you accelerate your strategic journey in particular. Because, you know, what we deal with in these sessions mostly is strategy issues and what works, what doesn't work across. We've seen, you know, tens of thousands of companies, including very successful ones. We have a case study program, this Entrepreneur Journey series that has over 1,000 entrepreneurs, including close to 100 unicorn companies, 400 plus venture funded success stories, another 400 plus bootstrap success stories. So we have seen a lot of patterns of what works, what doesn't work. So the feedback you get here is based on that feedback, that you know, strategic overview across many, many different companies. So that's the quality of the feedback, but it still is very possible that you may disagree with the feedback you get here, and that's fine. It's your business. You're going to decide where to go, how to shepherd your journey, and what is the navigation path that you're going to follow. You have to remember one thing, though, that not all businesses can raise money. Not all businesses should raise money, and raising money doesn't guarantee success. It's something that is a reality in our industry. So you have to understand the nuances of raising money and so forth. So today we are going to speak first with Abi, who is actually a premium member of the 1Mby1M program, and he's getting ready to present to a a specific group for a specific reason. So I'm going to work with him and help him refine his pitch. So Abi, please unmute your line and get going. Are you ready?
Yeah, sounds good, Shramadhan. Good morning. Yeah, and thanks for making the time to...
First and foremost, it's a presentation to DMGT Ventures, Daily Mail General Trust.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
For some reason I thought it was... Okay, I'll make sure, yeah. So just to give a little bit of context, this is an addendum presentation. So we will go through our main deck, which you have seen, which I've pitched. And then we're going to, go into the next agenda about what we think this alliance makes sense for. I'm looking at it as pitching to Dominique, right?
Yeah,
and then
you're going to be speaking to other people. Yeah. If you pass
right,
on
yes.
Okay.
Right. So then I started thinking, then I started thinking, what would Dominique, I'm sure his attention span is very, tight, so you need to be very crisp and clear. So I was thinking, what would he want to see? He'll probably look at, why it makes sense to have this alliance and why there's a synergy, and what would be the expectations of either party from my perspective. What is the current status of WellWrap, and what would it take for us to launch from a mass market perspective? And then what would be your go-to-market strategy based on your advice on the Kickstarter campaign? So I split that up. And then what the ask is. So I just approached it this way. So I hope it's okay with so the synergy is, I just wanted to, it's a little different from the WellWrap pitch because there's a lot of detail there. It's all muddled. So I've kind of extracted to give Dominique and like an overview, if you will. So we're talking about 6 products for WellWrap, which is kind of unique based on NASA LLC science. And the synergy with DMGT is it's the largest media company and many, many millions of prospective customers for WellWrap. And there could be an in-kind advertising revenues for their many channels. And we also know that based on the DMGT Ventures strategy, based on the website, WellWrap really aligns well with some of the other companies that they have in their portfolio. So you have a spelling mistake here. Don't start the presentation with this kind of glaring spelling mistake. Sorry.
So it's fine. I think the way to phrase this is not exactly DMGT realizes in-kind advertising revenue because they're not really making advertising revenues. In this case, if they're investing in your company, what they're doing is they're monetizing their advertising inventory through an investment in WellWrap.
Okay.
Right? They're not making revenues.
Okay. So we will be using their many channels and put together an advertising strategy and spending money from that perspective, right? So they'll be expecting us to spend some of that money that they're investing?
No. They will not give you money. They will give you some money that is working capital money, but the advertising is not going to be money. It's going to be in kind.
Okay.
So you're going to give them a chunk of equity to use their advertising.
Okay.
So that's why
the
positioning needs to be DMGT monetizes advertising inventory through investments.
Got it. Which makes sense. Yeah. Perfect. I'll go ahead and change that, So the expectations that we had is we receive financing to set up manufacturing and distribution, and we develop a marketing strategy to penetrate the many channels. For DMGT, it would be, again, I had mentioned this, and I'll rework the advertising revenues to talk about that it's really monetizing the ad inventory. And then we have
you need to
pretty good synergy.
rewrite. I'm not going to spend all my time wordsmithing your presentation,
Sure.
but you need to kind of tune these slides to be able to, reflect what they're really trying to do.
Okay, sounds good. So I've split the go-to-market approach into two areas. One is the initial Kickstarter campaign, utilizing a modest goal of 100K. And to reach that goal, we will utilize their platform, advertising platform, to reach that goal. And for the mass market campaign, I've just given some rough timelines. I think it probably would make sense for us to be able to have 2,000 units of inventory and be ready to launch by Christmas, by the end of the year.
2,000
and then
units.
Why
2,000
units. Just based on the financial slide, I just broke it down that way. I'm not sure. Yeah.
After you've looked at the financials, fine. Again, when you have to get the words right. Develop marketing strategy for DMGT sounds like you're marketing DMGT's product. No, you're developing marketing strategy with DMGT.
Right. Okay, got it.
And the first one, you have it right. Establish pilot marketing initiatives with DMGT to achieve 100K goal. Same thing here,
right.
Mass market campaign, develop marketing strategy with DMGT.
Got it, yeah. Got it. So this is just the status of what it's going to take to do the mass market launch, where we are today, what we have raised and what we have accomplished, and what we expect to happen to be able to be ready for mass market.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the financial slide that I put together.
So take out pre-money valuation established, blah, blah, blah. You don't do that in funding pitches, folks, all of you. When you're putting a funding pitch together, you do not say anything about valuation. Valuations are put in the term sheet by investors, not by entrepreneurs. Okay,
so I'll take that out, the second sentence, okay? Then just a comment that for the next round of funding, if necessary, it will be over 12 months.
Why do you say necessary? There will be. If you want to scale this company, there will be funding necessary, obviously.
Okay, we can move that.
How are you going to do this without funding? Is there enough profit to keep going on? I mean, if you seek investment for a business like this, 1.2 million is not going to be enough given the scale of the opportunity that you are showing here. So if necessary, is completely a non sequitur point.
Got it. Okay, we'll do that. So then I broke up the funds that we're looking to, just based on the breakdown onto which areas that we'll be looking at spending the money on.
Mm-hmm. So this is fine, but this just gets you to the launch in 12 months. What is your working capital requirement beyond that?
Okay.
I mean, you're not stopping this business.
Right. So like a 3-year outlay about what kind of capital requirements we may need?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll put that.
So,
I'll create
how long is your other deck?
It's about 20 slides.
And in what sequence were you planning to do this? You were planning to do that first and this next, or this first and that next?
I would be doing that so that Dominique gets an idea of the company, WellWrap, and what it does and where we are at today, and then summarize that in this deck, as an addendum. That's what I was thinking.
Right. So then I think what you're saying is that, with 1.2 million that we're trying to raise right now, we're going to get to this point where we have sold 2,000 units. In this slide, one of the things I'm going to look for is So 2,000 units, what are we selling these 2,000 units? So use of funds is one thing. The other thing that we're trying to look for, we're trying to understand is milestones, right? So in this seat of deliverables is milestones. So what is the milestone revenue? You're selling 2,000 units. You're not just manufacturing 2,000 units. In Christmas of 2019, you're planning to sell 2,000 units. What does that do from a revenue point of view? How much are we generating here?
Right. So I'll be using those slides that I have in the WellWrap presentation.
Yeah.
I think I should probably include that here, but I have those numbers
Need
there.
a summary. You can have all that. That's great, but you just need a summary here, because here you're saying, okay, I'm looking for a 1.2 million seed with which I will deliver. What is your price point? Right. 499, right?
Yeah, 499. Yeah.
So you're saying that with this funding, 1.2 million seed, at the end of 2019, you will deliver $1 million in revenue.
Yeah. Right.
And
so
but then you need more money to go forward, and so this is a point where you're also looking. But if you start raising money in, what is the point at which you're starting to raise money next?
Immediately, I think.
So if you start raising money immediately, it will take you 4 to 6 months to finish that round.
Right.
How are you going to? Yeah. Where is the working capital coming from after this 1.2 million seed runs out in 2019? What is the working capital strategy for the first half of 2020?
Right. Yeah, because that's going to also depend on the volume that we are looking at selling, and that will be determined by the marketing strategies that we're going to put together.
So this doesn't work. The numbers don't work, Abi. You need to have enough working capital between seed and profits and some buffer to go until mid-2020. You need 18 months of capital.
18, okay.
Because if you deliver $1 million in revenue after Christmas, then you go out to raise money. If you don't deliver that revenue, if these units don't sell, or if you cannot bring it to production and all that, then it's not going to work.
Right, yeah.
Right, so you will fail to raise money, and your business is not going to work. Nobody's going to put money in a company that cannot ship successfully 2,000 units, right? So that's not going to work.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
So assuming that you will succeed in doing all this, then what is the how much do you need to go 18 months? Do you need to sell more? Because remember one thing here is, if you can manufacture more and your profitability level is pretty good, right? Right,
absolutely, yeah. The margins are fantastic, yeah.
The margins are good, and DMGD can put in a lot of advertising. Advertising is something that they can put very easily. So if instead of manufacturing 2,000 units, you do 5,000 units, and you take a larger chunk of DMGD advertising to sell that, what does that do to your numbers? So do that analysis, and you can communicate with me over email what those numbers are, and I will dialogue with you over email to get you to a level where you can go and schedule your pitch.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for the feedback, Ramana. That's what I needed. Yeah. Thanks.
You're very welcome. That's why we're here. Okay, Dave, you're up next. Dave Hannam from Zurich.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. We're welcome. Tell us what you're working on.
Okay. So in 2016, Zurich from New Zealand, and moved to Zurich to start a company called SharesInside with a business partner. So what we did was we had a look at the way public companies are communicating with the shareholders, and realized that there was quite a big sort of a gap in how it was happening. A lot of companies using third parties, and information was getting altered and changed, and there a way to use technology to make this much more efficient. So we built SharesInside, and as formed to do exactly that, to bring a global pool of investors together, to bring all the capital together, and to connect it directly to them. So we based on three fundamentals.
Your buyer is the investor relations, head of investor relations at public companies, yeah?
Yes, you head of investor relations, communications, in some cases CEO, board of directors level. Also pretty interested.
And what traction do you have? What validation, what traction have you got to so far?
So we have managed to establish through chips and things like that. We have 8 offices around the world now. So we're in like Australia, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Russia, South America, and Europe. And we have like 100 companies on the platform now. Our goal is 50,000 public listed companies in the world. And as a result, we've been.
You have 100 paying customers for your SaaS product?
We have 100 companies represented in there, yeah.
100 paying companies, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And this
sure.
euro 5 to 20,000 is a subscription fee, what? Monthly, annual, quarterly? What is the subscription?
Yearly.
Huh?
That's yearly.
Yearly. Okay.
Yeah, annually.
Okay. And so what is the revenue level across these 100 customers right now?
Well, we're pretty much like around break even, really. By the time we set up all offices,
do you track these numbers like monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue, stuff like that?
Not myself, no.
Okay, so that's in a software as a service business, you have to start tracking that monthly recurring revenue and annual recurring revenue. And so it sounds like your business is an annual recurring revenue run rate, right? ARR, annual recurring run rate, revenue run rate. So that's a number that you need to track.
Yeah, okay.
Can you estimate that based on what you know? If you have 100 companies paying an average of how much? 10,000?
Yeah.
So about $1 million annual recurring revenue is where you are?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So problems to overcome, increased growth. Where you in the countries that you have customers in, you said you did not mention the United States. Does that mean that you have not started selling into the United States yet?
And we haven't actually tackled the United States, no. We thought we need to focus on, we just need to focus on some regions. Take one step at a time. The US is one of the biggest markets, and to do that we need to win pretty strongly. So we wait for the right time.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last slide.
What do you want to focus on today?
Well, the only the problem that we're facing at the moment is to move from a tool that is sort of viewed as nice to have to a tool that's necessary for these departments. And
what I would suggest, this sounds like a company that can be scaled very easily, given where you are, given the fact that you have validation, it's a product that's working and everything. It's really a question of competition. Who do you have as competition? I mean, it strikes me, I can see a very, very clear and easy strategy of how to sell this product in the US, and I can teach you that. If if you decide that you want to work with 1Mby1M, I can teach you that strategy. It's a no-brainer for me. The question, though, is what is the competition that you're going to have to, let's say we put together that strategy, whom are you going to encounter in those deals? So I would like you to do some homework on the strategic mapping of the competitive landscape of whom do you have to compete with and how are we going to compete with those companies? What are the, strengths, weaknesses? How are you going to, if there are companies that are already using other products, is it possible to bump those, or have we already lost the market? So you need to do, if you want to penetrate the US market, for example, which is the largest market, right? Of public companies, it's one of the largest markets. And it's not difficult to access this market. It's actually, enterprise software has been sold in a software as a service mode a lot in this market. So, but it is a competitive market. So why don't you do the comparative analysis, and if you decide, I will explain a little bit later after I finish working with Sandeep Naik, how to use the 1 million by 1 million program. If you like to use the program, join the program, and then we'll help you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Sandeep, you're up next. Doctor's Bazaar. Sandeep, are you on the call? Okay, while Sandeep is figuring out. Here you go. Okay, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks a lot. So we founded Doctor's Bazaar in 2016. I'm the co-founder who looks after the business and development and operations as well as marketing. And I have a co-founder who takes care of the technical aspects, including the programming and product management. So what Doctor's Bazaar, next slide please. What Doctor's Bazaar really does is that it's a medical device market network where we help connect medical device companies to hospitals and doctors around the world. Right? We're changing the way medical devices are actually sold because this is a product which requires a lot of consultation, a lot of demonstration, and a lot of discussions before they actually purchase. It's a very complex buying decision. And the after sales is equally as important as the sales, because it's a relationship which a hospital actually gets into with a medical device company once they buy the product. So such a platform where medical device companies can interact with hospitals over the period of lifetime of the product does not exist, and that's the reason why we went ahead and developed Doctor's Bazaar. Next slide, please. The problem here is, especially in the developing countries, and if you look at the market here, about 75% of the medical device industry, which is about $500 billion, is dominated by US, Canada, Japan, and Western Europe, which takes over 75% of the whole market. And the rest of the world actually contributes to 25%. India is just out of that a $5 billion market. And the major reason for that is because you don't have technology reaching us on time. You don't have, these countries do not have access to the best of companies and best of technology. And the reason for that is basically the companies who are developing these technologies don't have an infrastructure or the kind of bandwidth to actually expand and market the product the way they should. They do it in the developed countries. So offering them a social media platform where they can bring in their products, they can bring in their product specialists on the platform, they can bring in their channel partners within those countries and allow them to engage with hospitals, doctors, biomedical engineers in those hospitals and purchase managers in those hospitals and talk about technology and discuss about technology. And the way we are dealing with it is because we've created a completely modern, unique social media platform where all these things come with synergy. So, and next slide. What we're actually helping companies to do is right from the time a product search happens within a product category to helping the customer with the research, product selection, purchase, after sales service, and including buyback. We're helping these the companies get engaged with these hospitals on a continuous basis, and therefore develop very deep relationships with them. We've got applications like Doctor's Bazaar, which is a basic platform which offers a social media angle. We've got the Storefront and Procurement Plus, which helps in digitizing transactions. And this, the Storefront and the Procurement Plus is valid across all product categories. It can be an MRI CT scanner, which costs $1 million, to a consumable or an accessory, which has to be used during surgery. So we've got these, the transaction, the digitization of transactions figured out across all product categories. And later on, we have asset management tools where hospitals can manage assets with regards to maintenance scheduling, calibration, raising complaints, even including pharmacovigilance, where you need to report any devices for malfunction or incidents. And you can, using our platform, they can also link these assets to medical device companies, where medical device companies get a real-time updates of how the assets are doing, what condition they are in, and intervene for service and maintenance when alerted. So this is a complete platform built for them. Next slide. So for us, we are basically targeting a global market because most of our companies, most of the manufacturers who are on our platform are by design global companies. So for us, and right now we would like to focus in the next 5 years in the growth markets because that's where we basically, there is really a need for this. And the size of the growth market for us is about $130 billion. And for us, we are not targeting the government sector as of now because for us that's a lot of red tape.
First comment I will make is that do not come to any pitch with $130 billion addressable market size. That's a top-down number. You need to come up with a bottom-up market analysis of what is your real addressable target market. That is the global medical device market that you're trying to go after. That's not your market. That's not your TAM at all.
Okay.
So that's absolutely flawed right there.
Okay. Fine. So for us, we are basically targeting a revenue potential of 126 million. That's as far as the SaaS revenue as well as transaction fees are concerned through these applications in the target market size. And we are looking to capture about 2% of the the private sector in this growth market. That's what our aim is, to capture them. And through that, we are hoping to realize a revenue of $126 million as SaaS as well as transaction fees in the next 5 years.
So can we do a little math exercise right here? This $130 billion, your focus is 2% of this market?
So actually, that's the growth market. Out of this, this includes government sector as well as the private sector. The private sector forms about 30% of this market. So our focus area, and the first focus area is basically the $38 billion of this particular thing. So that's our target.
So $38 billion of private sector medical devices, you estimate, is going to be sold in India in the 5th year from now?
Not just in India. This includes this includes India. This includes Southeast Asian countries. This includes Africa as well as LATAM. So the simple reason that when we onboard companies and when we onboard them on the storefront as well as on the service desk, these companies by design are actually using our application in other countries as well, which is leading to transaction revenues coming in for us as well as license revenue.
What is your business model?
So what we do is we sell the licenses to companies to be onboarded on the platform to list their product. And per country, the license fee actually works out to be around $1,300 roughly.
So as and when they keep adding, paying you a license fee to get on this platform?
Yes, the companies are paying us the license fee to get on the platform.
Yeah, so that means your market analysis is absolutely wrong. This is the grand picture of maybe there are this many devices, but as far as TAM analysis, the classic TAM analysis as it pertains to a business plan, a startup business plan, is all wrong. You have to learn how to do TAM analysis. I can help you with that, but this is an area that requires a lot of work for your presentation.
Sure. In terms of that's what I wanted to clarify. In terms of the SaaS revenue, the license revenue, we are targeting to reach about 50 million a year through these medical device companies. But apart from that, we make 2% on every sale which happens through the platform.
That's fine.
And and for example, Medtronic has actually used our technology to sell insulin pump accessories and consumables in India. They're going to scale it up to all non-US countries across the world in the next 2 years. So whatever sale happens there through the platform, you get 2% of that transaction.
Yeah,
Similarly,
so
ResMed is another company.
You have to create a TAM model which takes all of that into account. What is the SaaS business? What is the TAM for the SaaS business? What is the TAM for the transaction revenue business? And that's your presentation. That's your bottom-up TAM analysis.
Sure. Okay.
So do that math and you'll see. So right now you're at 4,000 monthly recurring revenue, you're saying, yeah? And how many manufacturers are selling on your platform?
We've got about 20 medical device companies on the platform and roughly about 600 odd hospitals on the platform.
Very good. Okay, great. So that's a very good starting point.
Yes.
So what are the questions?
So for us, basically, right now we are seeing because of word of mouth as well as the good experience that which other manufacturers have actually had. We're seeing a steady stream of companies coming to us and asking to sign up on the platform. But then the best, I mean, the make or break thing for us as far as success is concerned is to sign up as many hospitals as possible for the asset management application. Because the moment you have a hospital on using our asset management application, they hook. They spend, by our analysis from these 600 odd hospitals, they spend close to about 8 to 9 hours on our platform. Searching for products, managing their assets, etc. So that's and these are people who will be making a decision on purchase of new devices. These are people who will be talking to companies for decision making, etc. So for us, to scale that up across these growth markets, we need to really make a decision as to whether going it alone, hiring our own team of marketing people, having our own people on the ground is going to be the way, or do we, use channel partners who's going to be, selling it for us. So the channel selection is basically one of our concerns right now. When we talk to a lot of channel partners.
The question is, what is the incentive for the channel partners?
So the problem here is, as I mentioned, our average annual revenue per hospital is about $350. That's the license fee which hospitals pay us to use the asset management application. But the moment we take it to the channel partner,
that's not all. You're saying that you can make transaction revenues. So how many deals, how many transactions does a hospital do that generates how much more money for you per hospital?
That's correct. So I mean, in terms of transaction revenue, right now we are seeing close to about, in terms of our revenue, we're getting about $1,000 to $1,500 as a 2% charge of whatever transactions are happening on the platform. That's what we are making in right now. But then, beg your pardon?
Per hospital?
No, not per hospital. Today, on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis. Okay, so anyway, Sandeep, your pitch requires work. I can't make any of these calls, whether we should bootstrap this company or raise funds, or whether I can even raise funds for you based on this. I can't make those decisions based on this pitch. So first and foremost, we have to put this pitch in a framework that allows us to make those decisions. It is a real investor pitch with the real numbers in the process. I'll be happy to coach you through how to do that process using the program. But until we do that, I can't comment on whether you should continue to bootstrap or even if it's viable. See, the thing that all of you, I have to tell you this, the decision on whether you should bootstrap or raise funds is only relevant if you are in a fundable situation. So the first question you should ask yourselves is, am I fundable? Is my business fundable? Then the second corollary question is, should I go continue to bootstrap, or should I try to raise money? If you're not fundable, then there is no question. Then you need to go continue to bootstrap. There's no question. There's no option, right? So let's first figure out whether you're fundable or not. And this is true about all of you who are trying to make this decision. You first check whether you're fundable or not. Okay, Sandeep?
Yeah.
And 425K is your money, external money. How did you fund the development?
In terms of cash we've spent on outside development, we've spent about 110 to 115K on development and transport, marketing, etc. This is something like as founders we've been working on our own, so that includes our founder's salary as well.
Okay, but there's no external capital in the company yet?
No.
No, okay. So you are indeed a self-financed bootstrap company. Now we have to check whether it's fundable or not, and if it is, then whether it makes sense to go out and raise money.
Sure.
Okay, got it. But meanwhile, keep going with what you're doing. I think definitely you need to get revenues going, and you've got 4,000 MRR. Try to get it up. Try to get more transaction revenues going. All that is true, and in parallel, let's figure out the fundability and so forth.
Sure.
Okay. Maureen, is there another? No, not this. Sorry, this is Sandeep still. Okay, great. Folks, that concludes our scheduled entrepreneur pitches for today. I have one request for you, which is if you like what we're doing here in 1 Million by 1 Million, please refer serious entrepreneurs into the program. This word serious is in bold, right? Why? Because we need to work with serious entrepreneurs. Sandeep Naik is a very serious entrepreneur. There's no question. He's been working 3 years on a problem, has successfully brought the product to market, got revenues going. This is the kind of entrepreneurs we want to work with. In fact, the entrepreneurs today have been very serious entrepreneurs because one of them has 1 million ARR, one of them has 4,000 MRR, and so on and so forth. So these are, Abi has brought his product to a level where it's getting ready to go out. It's a very complex product. So these are serious entrepreneurs. We understand their level of seriousness, and we need to be able to, work with them, and they need to be receptive to the mode of working. So that's my, feedback in terms of, or ask in terms of what we want from you, and in terms of what you can get from the 1M1M platform. Everything is on 1M1M.com, and there's a tremendous amount of free content on the 1M1M blog where you can learn a lot from. The blog is entirely free. You can also use the Entrepreneur Journeys book series to learn some of the principles of various aspects of entrepreneurship. They're very reasonably priced books, all available on Amazon. We do weekly roundtables like this every week. We've done 428 roundtables as of today. Over 100,000 people have attended. You're welcome to come back to these roundtables anytime. And the recordings are all available on the YouTube channel. Our full acceleration program is 1M1M Premium. And there you get extensive methodology guidance. You have a full curriculum that will help you learn these things that you do not know at the moment. Like Sandeep Naik, you need to learn TAM analysis. You need to learn business modeling and so forth. So that's one of the issues. I think you would also find it helpful to spend some time on the customer acquisition module, and the same with the shares company from Zurich. I think both of you would benefit tremendously from studying the customer acquisition module, especially B2B customer acquisition. We help you with business development. Where we have contacts, we always introduce you to people that you want to meet in our network. And you get private versions of these roundtables for your strategy consulting, coaching, mentoring, whatever you call it, project-based consulting. And we do help you with financing. But as I said earlier to Sandeep, you have to first gauge whether you are fundable or not. And that fundability question, if we can converge on, then we can figure out whether then we do have the network for financing for sure. And if you are fundable, we'll figure out which ones are the right people for you to go talk to, and we'll introduce you accordingly. So that's all part of your premium program. And then we also have a lot of clout in the media, and we can introduce you to those media companies. And actually, our media platform is huge right now. That is primarily where we start the media exposure. Self-assessment. Go to the website and look at the self-assessment and ask yourself these questions. It's very, very important that you ask yourself these questions. These are the questions investors will ask you if you're thinking about funding. If you get stuck on methodology points, do 1M1M basic. That's our curriculum-only version. All kinds of templates, investor templates, explanation of what it takes to get money, what is fundable, what is not fundable. Everything is covered in the curriculum. So if you just kind of, set aside a chunk of time to do curriculum on your own, that will also help you make a lot of progress. If you are in the premium program, then I will, typically point you to the kinds of things that you need to quickly master. So go dig around on the website, look at what to expect from premium, what to expect from basic, the FAQs, video FAQs, description of the curriculum. We're a case study-based program. There are 1,000+ case studies that it's based on those case studies that we've built this program with video lectures and both video interviews and as well as text case studies and material that you can study. So it's it's intense. We want you to study and learn from people who have done it before instead of reinventing the wheel every time. So you save a lot of time. By studying now, you save a lot of years of making stupid mistakes that are completely avoidable because other people have made those mistakes before and they're willing to tell you that, no, don't make those mistakes. Our methodology is lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups, and the philosophy is bootstrap first, raise money later. We actually do not believe that the VCs are a problem. We believe that you need to go to VCs as kings, not as beggars. If you go very early on without the right metrics and the proof points, you're basically begging and you will not have success. And that's not the time when we want to send you to VCs. We want you to go to VCs with some proof points. With some exceptions in some geographies, as you heard today from Czech Republic, where this firm, Credo Ventures, is willing to look at concept stage ventures. So essentially, we'll have to play it by ear, but for the vast majority of investors, they're looking for validated businesses. Okay, so that's it. We have free roundtables, 3 more in, actually today is the 16th, so 2 more in January, 24th and 31st. And then 3 more in February, 14th, 20th, and 28th. We have a little gap, 1 week that I'm traveling, the first week of February. Other than that, we are here pretty much every week. We also have a lot of in-person rendezvous right now. So January 23rd, January 30th, February 13th, February 27th, we have Cafe Boroni rendezvous in person. So come, meet me there if you're local or if you're visiting from somewhere else, and we'll get acquainted and we can work on your ventures there as well. Okay, time for Q&A. You can either dial in or ask questions in public chat. I see hands up. Ricky Rishati, Rina Valpatria, you all have questions. Go ahead and start asking your questions in public chat or by dialing in. And while you're doing that, let me introduce you to Irina Patterson. Irina will be happy to answer any of your questions about the program. She's available at irina@1Mby1M.com and also by phone and Skype. And that is it. Questions, comments, folks? The article that Maureen shared in public chat, Bootstrapping to Exit, is one that is trending on LinkedIn right now. You should definitely take a look at that. It's a very important perspective for our industry. Anybody else? Questions, comments, besides the ones that I've just talked to? No? No questions, no comments. In that case, I'm going to adjourn. Last call. Very quiet group. Rina, you send questions where? Can you please cut and paste your questions, send to all participants, set your public chat to send to all participants and cut and paste your questions? Oh, I see. You guys are using the absolutely. So 1 second. I'm going to cut and paste your so this is what I see in public chat. So the first set of points are, you guys are using the Q&A over here. Okay, got it. So let me see how to. Okay, I will pick up questions from the Q&A. Ricky Risati says this platform is amazing. Thank you. Wonderful questions input. Thank you for hosting. As an East Coast Austrian American in Vermont, please do not mark me as spam for sharing the Municipal Credit Foundation proposal. ULT or financial guideline representative, they're after receiving annual birthday credit 300. Well, so I will mark you as spam if you put stuff like this, because this does not belong here at all. Please don't post irrelevant, non-contextual stuff in this text box. Rena, you had a bunch of questions about audio. I hope it worked out for you. Otherwise, I think it is you, because the audio was perfectly clear. Your question is, we are a services company, identified a way to automate some of the processes. We have developed and tested the beta already. We don't know how to price our solution. Is that something you can help with? Absolutely. We have a module on pricing in the curriculum. You can learn there, and you can also come and discuss your pricing with me, and I will absolutely help you. Ricky Risati, grateful for your wisdom. Karthi Subbaraman, this was great. Just wanted to understand how to be a data-driven entrepreneur. I'm a designer, so how to and where to learn the ARR, MRR. You know, Karthi, one of the best ways you would learn what you need to learn about entrepreneurship if you're a designer is by doing 1M1M Basic. So go to the website, sign up for 1M Basic, and start doing the modules, and you'll be much better place. If you spend, let's say, 50 hours of studying the core curriculum, you'll be in a much better place. Abhishek Gupta is asking, what is the difference between the value added by 1M1M and other mainstream accelerators such as Y Combinator or Techstars? Well, there's actually, we have a module on this. You can look at it on YouTube. Y Combinator and Techstars operate as VC funds. They invest in companies, and they're very selective. They work with a very small number of companies. 1Mby1M is democratic. Anybody. Our expertise is in technology and technology-enabled services. That's the only domain we work in. But if you are working in that domain and you want help, we'll help you. You can join the program. We're not going to screen you or select or be selective or anything. The Y Combinator Techstars rejection rates are 97, 98%, sometimes 99%. So there's a very small chance that you will get into Y Combinator or Techstars. So if you can get into Y Combinator or Techstars, do that. And if you can't get in, you should come and work with 1Mby1M, and maybe we can help you get into Y Combinator or Techstars. We do have companies here who use this platform to prepare to apply for that kind of funding. There are a lot of accelerators that give you funding, but they're very selective. So we can prepare you to qualify for those fundings, you know, 200K, 100K, $200K, $1 million funding through accelerators, but you have to be prepared for that. You have to be fundable for that, and we can help you prepare for that. That's a very, crisp answer to your question. Okay. Any other questions? Very good questions. Those are great questions. Any other questions, comments? Explain validation. What does that mean? Reena, validation means having some understanding that you are solving a customer pain point and customers are willing to pay for it. That is what validation means. You can go, again, if you can go do 1M basic, the curriculum, and there's a whole module on validation methodology, you can do that module and learn from there as well, the nuances of it. Anybody else? Folks, it's 9:30 a.m. Pacific. We normally try to finish the call at this point. We will be back here next week, so come back, bring more questions, and we will take them around and give you more insights into all the issues that you're dealing with. See you soon. Have a wonderful week and weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.